appropriated and the amount otherwise provided by this Act for Department of Energy, Energy Programs, Nuclear Energy is hereby reduced by $52 million.
Pursuant to House Resolution 621, the gentleman from California and a member opposed will each control 5 minutes. The Chair recognizes the gentleman from California for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. California and the rest of the West are facing a historic drought right now. Nearly 80% of California was under extreme drought conditions in June, and 36% of our state is in exceptional drought in that category, the highest category, in fact, on the U.S. Drought Monitor. Emergency conservation plans are being adopted across the state, including many mandatory measures. Cities and counties are dealing with uncertain water supplies. Farmers and ranchers are facing incredibly difficult decisions. And tribes and those who depend on healthy fisheries for their livelihood are facing shortages like they have never seen. Congress can't make it rain. What we can do is invest in drought-resistant water supplies through smart, sustainable investments in conservation and water reuse, and that's what this amendment is all about. My amendment directs $52 million to the Bureau of Reclamation for Title 16 water conservation and reuse projects. Through this program, Reclamation works across the West to support municipalities, farmers, fish and wildlife, and recreation through water-saving conservation, reuse, and recycling infrastructure projects. Although the energy and water bill before us today does fund the program, this drought is showing us that we have to do a lot more. California's State Water Board is stepping up. They made an $800 million investment in water reuse projects earlier this year, but we on the federal side should be able to add more to that. We should add $52 million to combat this urgent problem in California and other western states. This amendment is offset through a reduction in the Department of Energy's nuclear energy account. We have tough choices to make. I think we all understand that. Responding, however, to this drought should be a national priority, and so I urge my colleagues to support my amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from California reserves. For what purpose is the gentleman from Idaho?
Claim time in opposition to the amendment.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Madam Chairwoman, I strongly oppose this ill-conceived amendment. This amendment would cut $52 million out of the nuclear energy program. This is on top of an amendment that was adopted yesterday that already cuts $73 million out of the nuclear energy program. What I've heard for 2 days is that climate change is a big issue. And in fact, the drought in California and the West has been blamed on climate change. It may be true. I don't know. But if you believe that, then why are you attacking the one thing that can produce energy for this country in a carbon-free way? That makes no sense. So I strongly oppose this amendment. As I said, I understand my colleagues' support for the Title 16 program, and due to the request from the gentleman and many others within this Congress, funding for Title 16 programs basically at current rate, while many other programs have been cut. We did this by balancing many priorities that the amendment would completely ignore. The amendment would cut, as I said, $52 million from nuclear energy. This is a 6% cut. On top of the amendment yesterday, accepting this amendment would be a 14% cut in nuclear energy. Again, if you really believe in climate change and that we have to address it, one of the major things that's going to address it is going to be nuclear energy. While I like wind and solar and all of those kind of things, they don't produce the energy for the base load that's necessary in this country, particularly in California. As I said, this is an ill-conceived amendment. Funding for nuclear research and development is a critical part of this recommendation's support for a balanced energy portfolio, American manufacturing, and reduced reliance on foreign energy sources. Nuclear power currently generates 20% of the nation's electricity, and it will continue to play a role in the future, I hope. Nuclear energy will be part of the energy mix in the future. America invented nuclear power, but now other nations are mimicking our company's designs and building them entirely within their own borders. This amendment is bad policy, and I strongly oppose its adoption. And I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We either believe that this critical drought in California and other western states, the most extreme drought that many of us have seen in our lifetime, we either believe it's a national crisis and a national priority, or we don't. A few months ago, House Republicans put forward a bill that represented itself as a response to this drought, and yet it offered no immediate relief to the folks who are suffering in California. Instead, what it did is hack away at environmental laws, try to do some violence to 100 years of deference to state policy on water rights, and otherwise pick winners and losers in ways that was not responsive to this drought. What this amendment offers, though, is something that can make an immediate difference. The water that we save through conservation, the water that we can save in the years ahead through water recycling, is some of the firmest, most reliable, most cost-effective water that you can provide. It's one of the smartest investments you can make in a state like California. We need it to respond to this drought, and we need it to make our water supplies more reliable and resilient for future droughts, which we know are coming with more severity and more frequency. So I will close by urging my colleagues to vote yes for this important amendment, which does respond to the critical drought that's facing California and other western states.
Gentleman from California yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to. For what purpose does the gentleman from Missouri seek recognition?
Madam Chair, I have an amendment at the desk. It's designated number Amendment 61.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment offered by Mr. Luetkemeyer of Missouri. At the end of the bill, before the short title, insert the following section. None of the funds made available